Here's a short story called Lottery. David was depressed. He hadn't shaven for days and he'd worn the same shirt for 5. Soon he would be 50. He couldn't believe it. It only seemed a minute ago when he started his first day at school. Then he had been full of life and dreams, dreams that now were dead and buried like an unloved puppy. He woke to the sound of rain, but it could easily have been his own tears. He stared at the ceiling. Could or should I get out of bed, he thought. He wasn't sure. What, another lonely, miserable day, he thought sadly. Unfortunately, he could only stare at the ceiling for so long. He reluctantly pulled on his tracksuit and headed to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and could hardly recognize the flabby, unhappy face staring back at him. Where has the young man gone? He mused, and then he flushed the toilet. Down the pipe, he said, to no one in particular, and offered himself a rare smile. He drank his coffee and slumped in his armchair, and almost fell asleep again. He had a full day ahead. It felt like a mountain he had to climb reluctantly. He tried to conjure up a positive thought. It was like juggling with jelly. He couldn't do it. There was only so much he could do without getting bored. Look round the shops, tea at McDonald's, more shops. He was running out of options. He'd been watching an enormous amount of TV. It was the only way he could get through the day and hide from reality. He closed the door behind him and ventured out to brave the cold, rainy weather. Could it get any worse than a rainy day in Barnsley, he thought with some accuracy. Things didn't improve when he stepped into an oily, cold puddle. He almost went back to bed. How did I end up here, he thought angrily. He walked past shop after shop. To him they were all the same, and he couldn't afford anything in them even if he'd wanted to. He was dead to the world like a walking zombie. He had a few coins in his wallet and he could hear them jangling, almost pleading to be gotten rid of. Rain was falling heavier. He could feel the cold in his bones. He walked to the nearest cafe and sat down. He could see couples looking happy together, staring lovingly into each other's eyes. If only I had a woman, he thought, things would be a lot better. On the inside, he was a romantic, a grizzly bear on the outside, but with a heart of gold. It was then that an idea presented itself to him. One overexcited couple were looking at tickets, and it took him a while to realize what they were. Lottery tickets, he thought, and immediately images of escape and golden beaches and beautiful women flooded his mind. He checked his wallet, the coins were still there. He jumped out of his chair with renewed enthusiasm. He was on a mission. He headed for the same corner shop he'd been in earlier, and his heart beat madly, and he bought his first ticket. His palms were sweating like a teenager as the ticket was handed over. This is fate, he thought excitedly. My life is going to change beyond all recognition. As he thought, as he carefully placed the ticket inside his worn out wallet, which was symbolic of his life. The next time I'll have a wallet, it will be leather and bulging, he thought. He had 24 hours to get through. He stepped onto the curb. The rain was falling harder, but he didn't care. He had hope in his heart. Things were going to change. He could feel it in his cold bones. He never saw the bus, and it didn't see him. The driver was busy checking his numbers. He was sure it was going to be his lucky day. The bus stopped with a shriek, and the screams of the passengers filled the air like seagulls. They loaded Dave onto the ambulance like fresh meat. They checked his wallet. The ticket fell into the rain, and the numbers washed away. That evening, the winning lottery ticket was still unclaimed, blared the news.